was just a bad time. I was really confused about everything. I didn't understand when somebody was joking or when somebody was being mean. It was just kind of like really jumbled. And then not understanding them and not being able to interact with my peers kind of gave me a lot of social anxiety, which then turned into anxiety about literally everything. I had it in my head up until like sophomore year that I was a terrible person. So there was a few teachers that I actually really trusted, and I went to them and I was like, hey, I'm feeling all sorts of ways. Help. And then they called my grandmother, and from then on, we got hooked up with Guidestone. I got to meet Lee, and it's just kind of been steady uphill from there. We would meet like once or twice a week, and at first it was just getting to know each other, like, what are you doing? How are you feeling? How are you dealing with how you're feeling? I didn't like that. At first it was a stranger I could talk to, honestly. I could tell him things I couldn't tell my friends or my grandparents or my parents, and it was just a free space without being judged, which was like perfect. I'm biracial and I'm Caucasian and African American. It's not something that you can just ignore, you know? You look down at your hands, you look in the mirror under certain lighting, you look one or the other, and it's not something that you can ignore. So for some reason I felt that I started noticing that a lot of other people on both sides started avoiding me. And at the time I wasn't exposed to a lot of racism. I didn't know like why they were avoiding me. Excuse my bluntness, but it felt like I was too white for black people and too black for white people, which is so stupid. Well, now it's stupid, but back then it was like the most important thing. I'm gonna have to deal with it for the rest of my life, but why let it define you? Why worry about it? It's not like you can fix it. And one of the jokes that I started making with like, whenever I encountered somebody who had a problem with it, I would always tell them that they can only hate 50% of me. It took a really long time for what he was saying to me and trying to help me to actually sink in. And then once it started to, it was like, oh, okay. Life is easier now. Kind of looking forward to going to college and just being exposed to a whole new, different way of thinking, different way of life, kind of striking out on my own. I like the person that I've become. You look in the mirror and you're like, wow, I've changed quite a bit.